All right, streams should be live. I will get the announcements going, but as everybody shuffles in, welcome to the 1879 actual play stream. I am Brad Decker on the line, developer for 1879. If everybody wants to do their introductions while I get the announcements posted.
Hi, I'm Chris. I did some writing for 1879 and I play the character Weymont, who is a mage.
I'm Lexi. I am just a player. I play the Elf Explorer River.
I'm Michelle, and I play an elven investigator called August. And Joel has just gone downstairs to get food. He plays an elven aristocrat, and I've forgotten the name, Morgana. I'm sure he'll introduce himself properly in a minute.
Is that everybody? Other than me? Lexi, did you do yours?
Yep.
Okay, we're down to me. I'm Andi, and I'm highly unimportant most days. And oh, I'm also the GM. Part of why I'm highly unimportant most days. So, who wants to recap? Because it's been a month, and I know we have our notes. You guys are so quiet. Is it me?
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm being very quiet today because I had a 4.5 hour drive, so I'm shattered.
I love how you guys think a half-hour drive is so long.
4.5.
I love that. I give Europeans crap over that. Sorry.
Yeah,
Or-
no,
Like we
fine.
day trip 4-hour one-way drives, but we're Midwesterners. Everything takes hours to get to.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about out Andy. 4.5, not just half.
Oh, she said 4.5. Oh, see, I misheard. I'm sorry. 4.5-hour drive. I can see that being more of a thing.
In UK, traffic is not fun.
No. I would not imagine it is.
I don't think traffic
I would imagine the
anywhere
roads
is
get very
fun.
crowded there. Like I live in Greenfield right now, or near technically, but so in the little town, if I see 4 cars on the road, it's a high traffic day.
Wow.
There's 4 whole cars other than mine. I mean, even when I'm going to the school, I'm lucky if I see 4 or 5 other cars, like driving. If you're gonna go be a bot, I'll go that way. Oh,
As
my
opposed to
goodness.
Wyoming, where if you see, 4 cars, you've gone over the border to Colorado.
Right? Like, I mean, I have a friend trying to talk me into going to South Dakota, and I'm like, why? Why would I go to South? What is there for me to do in South Dakota? I'm not
Visiting.
totally sure that there's. They have some dinosaur museums, but I don't know where the person wants to go, and if the dinosaur museums are anywhere near there. Like, what's the fun if we go and we're someplace where the nearest dinosaur museum is 4 hours away? Like, I can still day trip it. It's just without knowing where in South Dakota. It's pretty. My understanding of South Dakota is it's pretty blank for long periods.
Hello, I'm finally properly present.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I should now be finally properly present. After everything happening at once.
Woohoo! Well, you know, if it didn't happen at once, it wouldn't happen at all. So you guys are going to tell me where we're at, what happened.
Well, Joel's the last one here. I think he should have to do the recap.
Oh,
I vote that way too.
well, you'll have to pause while I find the notes file again.
Bookmark it.
Yes, that'd be a plan.
I-
So, if I recall correctly, we were investigating the possible death of a notoriously cantankerous old woman who has died under mysterious circumstances, as in there is no body. But there was certainly enough blood for her to have died, and we had some conversations last time with her son and her daughter-in-law, who actually seemed quite nice and probably not the culprits. But I suspect we maintain a cynical chance in case they were just, trying to fool us.
Well, when you say it like that, it definitely makes it seem like it's them.
Well, I think, let's be honest, I think they were our prime suspects at the outset. But it turns out they seem quite nice. But we'd also found signs of how the body had been removed and taken out of the house with conveniently switched off streetlights, if I recall correctly. And suspicious traces in the ivy on the outside of the house. Because this is a fancy and nice part of London.
Let's see. I remember, because in the notes it says that there are no missing clothes, but there was a lot of missing bedding.
Yes.
She was most of the bedding was missing from the bed, and she always had extra blankets because she got cold easily because she's an old lady, and a lot of the bedding is missing.
So I think some of our suspicion is they wrapped her in said bedding, so that their bundle was, not
and
actually just an
possibly
over the shoulder.
threw her out the window, and then climbed down the trellis.
Yes.
However, even wrapped up, you guys suspected that being dropped out of the window, there still should have probably been some sort of blood spatter sign, droplets, and you guys could not find any.
Unless, they
I believe
her
you
like
guys.
unless they drained her like a deer.
Well, a lot of her blood is upstairs still soaked in the mattress. I mean, there was that, and there was some cast-off spray from the going in and out with the knife. You guys checked. Yeah, you guys were checking around the neighborhood a bit. Let's see if I can remember. You guys, there is some sewer access, but I don't think you've gone down there to check farther than yes, there is somewhere. At the time of the incident, a lot of the streetlights were broken for some odd reason, or just weren't on, which was weird. I think you talked to. Did you talk to some of the neighbors about if anyone strange had been around? I'm trying to remember if you did that yet.
I can't remember that was our next plan or something we'd already started to do. There's no notes to suggest we talk to the neighbors.
Looking at my notes, I think our
so
next
that may
move
be
was
where you guys
going
were going to start.
And I think our next move was going to look at the sewers, the sewer access, because that seemed to be the next likely possible exit point other than a
You guys
vehicle.
had determined that was a possibility. Okay. So you guys decide, are you going to talk to the neighbors or I guess check out the sewers?
Well, if we're gonna talk to the neighbors, we should probably do that before we check out the sewers.
That seems a
That sounds like
sensible
a good
idea.
plan.
All right.
When you
sounds-
talk to the neighbors, are you going to be talking to the staff or the actual owners? Or both?
I would vote for both, but prioritize staff because they're far more likely to see stuff that's going on early in the morning.
That means just
Arriving to
anybody who
work and
might
things
have
like that.
seen something, really.
Yeah, early in the morning. If no one else, Morgana would know that. Oh, what is the echo coming from? Morgana would know that your best bet is probably the staff, especially kitchen staffs, because they get a lot of early morning deliveries.
That and would need to be arriving early, and even in a posh neighbourhood like this, live-in staff, permanent live-in staff would be the minority of a house's staff. They usually live in the just over the other side, tucked around the corner, cheaper neighbourhoods.
Right. But the people in the kitchen would be the ones who are getting early morning deliveries.
Yes.
The other people would be people bringing in coal or fuel sources for keeping the houses warm. That's another one that tends to be an early morning. Do you guys want to do just some, let's say, 3 investigation-esque rolls, depending on whatever you've brought? And we'll call that canvassing the neighborhood? Rather than trying to go through specific interviews for every neighbor.
Sounds fine
Sure.
to me.
I've got Streetwise.
Streetwise works?
Can I use etiquette because of being used to dealing with people in this part of society?
Yes. Sure, why not?
Also
That
allows me
basically
to-
means you're talking to you're more talking probably to the owners, residents, rather than staff.
I could also
Streetwise
use etiquette.
probably talks to staff.
Sure.
And you've got etiquette too?
Yeah.
Sure.
I picked up
seems a
conversation
reasonable-
specifically for this.
You took, which is very good too. Perfectly valid.
Yay. Here, should we just put
I-
results in the chat?
Do you want to do that, or do you want to just tell me what everyone's first roll is, and we'll go there, or put it in the chat?
Well,
Either way, what do you guys
let's
want to
put
do?
it in the chat, then we can see who's got the highest.
Okay, let's put it in the chat then.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no skill for this.
Surely Lexi could talk to the local dogs.
Oh, 21. Dang.
Seeing how most of these have gone with River, I was expecting the response to be, I've got a gun!
No, River's not like completely crazy. She's young and
No, but that's the thing River has.
Adventurous. River can talk to people. She has a mouth and stuff.
She talks mostly to animals.
I've got 3 rolls.
That actually could be a good roll.
Am I waiting on anybody? Well, I was gonna say I was expecting River to talk to the neighborhood pets.
Yeah, I'll talk to the strays in the area.
All right.
Sorry, just making my roll now.
All right.
A relatively poor 9.
Okay, let's see. So, Chris, you have the highest. So let's start with, we're going to go from the lowest to the highest. On a 9, you didn't get much. Most of the owners, they're asleep. They don't get up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And you didn't happen to catch anybody who was an insomniac, I guess. The 11, Brad. You did get some people who thought it was very weird that the lights weren't working that day, because that's not usually been a problem. Let's see. 12. You totally, that the lights weren't working, which you already knew. You also get that there weren't that many businesses out that morning that the person you were talking to could remember. They remember a specific coal company. So if you wanted, you could track down the coal company, find the delivery driver, see if he saw anything.
Mhm.
21. You just happen to get somebody who says that they did see something unusual other than the lights. They were getting in a coal delivery when they saw this lady who sells lard, which her being there isn't unusual. Her being at the cranky woman's house because the woman who sells lard is a troll. And as you already know, she doesn't like Boujum. So they thought it was unusual that she was using a troll company. Because usually she naysays that right quick.
Fair enough. Did I get the woman's name?
They don't remember her name, but they can send you over to one of the other houses that they know use her.
Right.
And they would probably know her name. So yes, you will get a name.
Okay.
I will go find the note that had her name on it.
For the person I was
'Cause I
speaking
have it
to that was
somewhere.
mentioning the lights, did they have electric at their homes at this point? I mean, the posh neighborhoods might, or are they still off grid?
I would say they're probably on grid because they're wealthier neighborhoods, and wouldn't that go to those first?
Yeah, because
Usually?
they'd be the ones who could afford it. Were their lights off as well, or was it just the street grid?
That's a very good question you asked, and it's just the street lights, and it seemed to be their street, at least from what they saw. Their lights were fine. It's part of why the person thought it was so weird.
Okay, that has some things I'm going to want to look at here, but go ahead and finish with what you're in the middle of.
Her name. Ha. Her name is Kate Webster. So, Brad, what were your other questions?
So I was going to try and do some civil engineering and check how the grid is set up in the area, just kind of tracing back the power grid, and
Okay.
see if maybe the street lights are set up on a separate circuit or if everything's tied together. Let's see, for that I need this and this. I got a 10.
All right, 1 second, Brad.
Thanks, Andy. Missed that.
All right. So I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure how they would set up their grids at that point. I would personally think if I was setting up the grid that the streetlights would be on a separate one than the houses, because too much on any one circuit's never been good. So that would be my question. I don't know what there's nothing irregular about the circuitry.
Oh, it's just whether are they chained together or are they on a separate circuit. So if it looks like they're on a separate circuit, that should be
I
controlled
would
by.
think if you were smart that they would be on a separate circuit. The problem is that this block's lights would not be a separate circuit from the next block's lights.
Right.
And the one specifically said that just this block's lights were out when they saw. Which shouldn't happen.
Right. So
if it's a
would
circuit issue, the entire circuit should go.
Right, but so that would indicate something failing with the grid. That would be one to inquire at the power company.
Which is also a valid place to go and ask questions.
They should have some sort of record of that. So something else to go look at later.
Right. And on the 5, you don't learn much of use from the animals. Just they're not super helpful at the moment, I guess.
They probably avoided the
if you
lady.
have cookies, if you have they probably avoided the mean lady. The mean lady, you might totally get that. The mean lady also not good with pets or animals. Like maybe you even found one that's like, yeah, she kicked me. There's this cute little fluffy homeless dog and she kicked me. Say nobody likes the mean lady. You guys want to do a second round of rolls, see if we learn anything else? I don't know if we will, but you know.
I'm good. I've got a good lead. Troll large woman. Yep.
I will attempt to use conversation to get an idea of general local opinion of the mean lady.
Okay.
11.
All right. So general impressions about the mean lady is some of the neighbors like her because she's quiet and they don't interact with her very much. The neighbors that do interact with her, most of them would prefer not. There's always something that's wrong about their yard, about the whole place is manicured. But she'll have decided that she doesn't like your yellow roses because they clash with her red ones or something ridiculous. There's always some issue that she has. And so they're quite happy to not be involved with her.
Are there any hints of anything more specific? We got that she genuinely she said nothing, mostly trying to see if there's any gossip suggest there was somebody who might have it in for her. But if not.
No, I mean, nothing in specific. Like, everybody kind of does, in the fact that she's basically ostracized all of them at some point or another.
Yep.
Most staff from other places' houses avoid her like the plague because their jobs could be at risk if she comes in and kvetches about them. And you'll notice that especially the Boojum are very cautious to stay away from her because it's, the Catholics, the Boojum, pretty much everybody. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the things it's complaining about, and you're looking, there's nothing wrong with any of these yards. but literally it will be complaints like they put yellow roses and I have purple roses, and she doesn't like how they look near each other, and it'd be like they're 50 feet apart, like what near each other, right? Somebody had a carriage house built, and
Yeah.
she threw a conniption fit and declared that it was an eyesore and tried to have it banned. You know, and people are like, but you know, steam cars and stuff are the way of the future, so people are going to be putting in stuff to have this, right?
Yes, I suspect
So
this is being.
like it doesn't actually eliminate suspects, but it doesn't necessarily, in your mind, none of this would equate to murder.
No.
You know, she was just a very cantankerous, angry old lady.
Yes, as close as I can get, it's starting to look suspiciously like everybody outside her household staff and family conspired to get rid of her or something.
Well, I mean, that actually has happened in the past. You do know that there are basically communities that have, at least in the U.S., especially in the wild this time period, it happened. If somebody was a bad enough person, sometimes they just went away. And everybody in the town says they don't know what happened. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. Thanks for asking, but bye now. Like literally, that actually is a thing. I don't know. Has the UK ever had one like that?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's also one of the possible theories in Murder on the Orient Express. Spoilers, sorry.
Oh, yes. But all of them had reason, and all of them could have just. Because sometimes you'll find that even if you're not the person who did it, you saw something, but you just decide not to say anything because it's a bad person. But yes, in the times of the Wild West, because remember, out here, which is Victorian era, this time period, you didn't always have a sheriff nearby or any police nearby. It's also why you found that there's a lot of lynchings. Like, you could be arrested and they'll lynch you because they don't think that the court will get to it and deal with it before you break out and get away. Like, there were cases where the person broke out and got away, and then when they were recaptured, they got lynched. Nobody was ever arrested over the lynching. Just so you know, like that doesn't happen. They just were like, oh, he was a bad guy anyhow. Bye. Like, it's less paperwork now because they didn't bother to do paperwork on that type of stuff. So yes, it's technically feasible. But yeah, most people, the ones that got along with her are usually older people who just don't go out very much. Mostly so they didn't have any contact with her, right?
Yeah.
They're several houses down and they just haven't any contact. Pretty much anybody who's had contact with her, she's been pretty negative towards. She was not a likable person. She was apparently a very bitter, angry person. All right. August 22 on Streetwise.
Yep.
Okay.
On a follow up. Yeah.
That's pretty good. You decide to follow up with the person that oh my gosh, Chris's character
Weymont.
Weymont was talking to, just to see if maybe you got something else, and you did. It's a rumor, so you're not totally sure. You'd have to go back and ask her staff, but that Kate Webster, she may have actually used to work for and was fired from a position at Cranky Lady's house. Now, at this point, it's a rumor. You'd have to go and ask them if she worked there, but yeah. Her name's not written down for some reason. I believe it was Thomas, wasn't it?
Kathleen Thomas was the victim, yes.
There you go, Kathleen Thomas.
Once we're all back together, August will mention that he's heard that Kate may have worked for and been fired from the house, but it's just a rumour at this point. So we'll let everybody know.
Before or after Looking Glass Fever, I suppose, would be the question with that, but or possible, but I'm not sure. Entirely relevant.
Well, it's something I picked up, so
Regardless, it's a possible motive.
Let's see. You may have also heard, just because I can, that when she was young, like debutante, just coming out, you know, she was actually considered a much happier human. But some time ago, she just turned nasty, and people have ideas on why. Something with the husband and her not doing well together. And she just got more and more angry until, I mean, this has been who she's been for the last probably 20 or so years. And anybody who might have been friendly with her, she's basically ran off at this point, including her own son. So some people actually feel bad for her because whatever it is in her life that caused her to be like this, she has made herself the only person on the island, basically. All right, any other questions or things in this area? If not, where are we going?
I think it may be worth talking to this coal company and Kate Webb's.
Well, it was the lard delivery that they saw the truck for, right? Because there was just the coal person that saw them. Or do I have that wrong?
Yes.
It wasn't a truck. She has like a cart. She can't afford a truck.
A cart large enough to hide a body in?
Technically, yes, the cart would be large enough to hide a body in. It doesn't take that big of a cart. Just, 6 foot by 3. Preferably a little bit bigger so that you can, have some maneuvering, but yeah.
Depending on what shape the body's in, I mean, it's possible to hide one in a very small area, but...
That is also true.
And if the cart puller in question is a troll, it probably allows quite a large cart.
The thing that's bothering me with this is we've got the evidence to suggest that it was multiple stab wounds. It was repeating over and over and over again, right, based off of the blood splatter. But this seems really premeditative. It's odd that would have, but you're doing multiple wounds like that. That would be more passion, anger, that sort of thing going on. Doesn't seem like it would be planned out like this.
It could also be premeditated, but a Pringles moment. You know, once you pop, you just can't stop.
Well, but either way, I mean, it seems to indicate this was someone personal to the victim.
I like River's way of interpreting murder. I just want that pointed out. Like a
Yeah.
Pringles. Once you starts getting like, I mean, that's. I
Am I,
appreciate
am I,
that. Sorry,
am
Do
I
putting
the
we
it down.
one that's ever heard Pringles moment?
do we expect anything
No,
different from
I-
River at this point?
It's a lovely turn of phrase, and I didn't realise we were being sponsored by Pringles.
We are not, but we will gladly accept sponsors. I'm just saying. I ain't picky. I like Pringles. I can say that. I can be honest too.
We can make Don feature artwork of somebody with a Pringles mustache.
So some of this seems premeditated, but other parts of it aren't as premeditated. I mean, obviously the weapon was brought in because they're not missing anything, but the bedding was just used that was there to wrap her up and take her away. Whoever it was had some knowledge of the house because they got in and out and knew how to or where the bedroom was. So,
Well, but they clearly had a planned escape route.
that part's true. They definitely had a way to take the body out.
And we'd found enough, I think, to
But then
suggest.
certain parts obviously do feel like rage because that type of overkill is almost always anger, rage type of thing.
Yeah, because I doubt that the woman was putting up a struggle.
No, she was not. Hey, you didn't ask, and I didn't give that to you. Rotten dog. No, you don't get it. When you take things without asking, you don't get it. But she knows better.
But the
All
other
right.
possibility is
So-
somebody's trying to make it look like it was passion, anger. There may be something else going on with this, but anyway.
He's back as a free bet every Sunday and Thursday with 888 Sports, official partner of the.
So what is the plan?
Well, I think our best lead is the lard company. Or, deliverer if it's just the one woman.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a Budge Cole or Tate Webster selling lard.
Yeah.
And the power company. So, which one are we doing first? Coal company, power company, lard.
I would say let's go with the lard, because if that had something to do with the body, we need to try and catch those signs as quick as possible. Pretty much everything else will still be there. It's less time sensitive.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yep, let's do that.
Okay. Do you want to go back and check about whether or not she had been fired and when? Or do you just want to go to her place of business?
Might be worth checking that before we leave the neighbourhood.
All right, who's going to go ask?
I can go and ask the household staff.
Okay.
A 10.
10. Yes, there was someone who was a maid, but she was fired like 3-4 years ago. Apparently, she's Irish. Well, and Catholic.
Ah,
And she hid it. Like, she tried to cover her accent, and she was very careful about, but somebody found out, and somebody told, and she lost her job. Hold on. Puppy knocked my microphone off, or headset off, so I can't hear anybody. Sorry about that. Yeah. I hid it pretty well, and I'd worked there for almost a year, and then pretty much somebody found out, and somebody snitched on her, and she got fired. She'd been a fairly good maid. You know, she actually came by 6 months or so ago, though. She was selling something, but she's different than how she used to be. And the missus, it just wasn't going to be a thing that would happen. Any other questions?
I think that's it, unless anyone else has any suggestions on that front. I don't think.
No, I can't think of anything else at the moment.
It's pretty easy to find out about the company because, like I said, several other people she does deliver to on the street, and their staff will hand over, like the address or so you can find it. It's not in a great neighborhood. It's in a very highly Irish neighborhood, which isn't to say that that's bad because I like Irish. But in this time period, sometimes they weren't always treated so nice.
Yep.
And selling lard involves a lot of cooking animal fats, and it doesn't smell great. So nicer neighborhoods don't necessarily like that. Poor neighborhoods don't get to gripe so much. So, she's on it's a kind of a basement floor apartment. So there's like a small walk down. And there is a sign out front that basically says Webster Lard. We deliver.
This must be the place.
It looks to be the right, indeed.
There you go. How are we doing this? Who's doing what? Who's knocking? How? And you can definitely smell cooking.
Well, has anyone been hiding that they're Irish?
No.
Nope.
Well, I don't think we'll have a social advantage from that then.
So who's knocking?
I can go down and knock.
All right, so Lady Morgana goes down and knocks.
Yep.
And it takes a minute. and you can hear someone in there moving around, some clanking and like a kitchen-esque noises, you know. And then this fairly nice looking, I mean, I wouldn't say she's beautiful, but fairly nice looking troll woman answers the door. She's got that almost orange red hair. She's got green eyes. She's got fairly big horns. Um, she's probably 7.5, 8 foot tall.
Morgana, introduce herself just as Morgana Whitworth hand her card from the agency and say where we're asking questions about, well, we're looking into the disappearance of one Mrs. Kathleen Thomas. We believe you were delivering lard in that neighbourhood at a 25 on a first impression.
So she doesn't open the door any wider.
Yeah.
Like it's open so you can kind of see the head and you can get the impression of the horns, but not much else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was delivering. Not there.
Yeah, so I was wondering if you've seen anything unusual in the neighbourhood. You're one of the few people who was actually doing deliveries in that area that
Nope.
morning.
Nothing unusual. Me and the coal. Both bright and early, so we can, guess they can make their bread. Well, if there's nothing else, I've got work to do. I have deliveries for tomorrow. And she starts to close the door.
I will put a foot in it. Do we have any other questions? Are you sure you saw nothing unusual?
The
Trying to
streetlights
get
were
it.
weird. That's it, maybe. And then she pushes it on your foot, like it's starting to pinch.
Why were the
She doesn't
streetlights
even look
weird?
down at your foot. She just starts pushing it on your foot while looking at you like straight in the eye.
Why were the streetlights weird exactly?
Because they were off. Now I've got work to do, and if it scorches, I'm going to be very unhappy.
So you didn't see anything strange, no?
Nothing other than the lights.
Can I tell if she's sounding like she's being evasive or just
Sure, I think there's a rule for that.
just trying to work out which it is?
Okay, what are you rolling?
I was just having a look, see what I've got. It may just be a
okay.
straight charisma or perception test.
Okay.
Since I don't have empathic sense as an actual skill as yet, it's on the list.
On the list. It's a good list.
Yes, it's just a straight charisma test. Give me a sec. That's my...
Not a problem.
I just checked and is defaultable as a charisma test. Excellent. 14.
She's
I
very
couldn't-
hard to read. You don't know that she's necessarily lying, but you're not necessarily sure that she's telling you the whole truth either. But she's just kind of hard to read.
Yep.
Wonder if I have anything for this. No. Could be straight awareness, etiquette, perhaps. There is a skill for this. I just can't remember what it is.
The empathic sense would be a good one.
Didn't
I
it
don't know
help?
that etiquette would help much in this case.
Awareness?
We can do awareness.
Have I got a decent sight on Kate at all? Because I've got empathic sense.
Yeah, 10.
I mean, I
not
figure
good.
she's taller than him, so yeah, you can see over his head.
Okay. I didn't want to presume.
Yeah, she's at least a
No.
foot taller than
She's
Morgana.
probably
So.
yeah, I was gonna say she's a foot and a half taller than Morgana, so
Yes.
and Morgana'd have to be a very tall lady to be.
Mhm.
I think Morgana just fall in the category of very tall lady, but that's because she's an elf. But that's not troll tall.
Depends on how tall her hat is.
Well, and like I said, she's like 7.5 footish, and I know that that's not super tall for a troll. She's probably kind of a slightly built troll comparatively, but still, that's a big, you know. Oh,
Yeah,
empathic
Morgana's
sense.
it won't be that tall. It'll be something about.
Ardie's pulling out the empathic sense. Ah,
That's
yeah.
what you need.
that is a good one for this. So that's just a little weird. So she's not necessarily lying. She's also not telling the whole truth, but the whole thing is trying to get a read on her on this. It's just very, because being empathic means you're kind of mind reading, and it's just a little odd in here. Like her thoughts on it are a little. It's different. It just feels very different to you.
Would it be best if we came in and had a proper chat rather than doing it out here on the street? If you don't mind.
And she's like, "No, I'm working. I'm done. My
Is there
stuff's
a
going to
better
get
time?
ruined, and I have to pay rent. Good day."
Is there a
And
better
if you don't
time
move
we
your
can
foot,
come
it's
back?
about to hurt.
Is
She's
there a
not
better
even. She's
time
like.
we
She
can
just
come
looks
back?
at the guy. And she's like. She doesn't answer. She's just looking at the guy whose foot's in her door. If you don't move your foot, it's about to hurt a lot.
I thought it was is it Morgana that's got a foot in the
Morgana's
door?
got her foot in the door. Is
Yes.
probably going to be
Right.
moving her foot in a moment, but
Well,
Because she's starting to pull that door back to slam it. You have the sense that you do not have a lot of time here. She is going to slam that thing on your foot.
obviously, if you help us with our inquiries, we can make it worth your while.
Losing my customers will not be worth my while. And she slams the door. So
I will
I
move my
think
foot
this
before she
is
slams it.
okay. And you can hear the chain going on it. And it's like almost stomping back off to the kitchen. And in case you're wondering, yes, when she opened that door, it was definitely the smell of lard being rendered. Just in case anybody was curious.
Having a look around the place, is it pretty obvious where her cart would have been? Or would be? I'm assuming she doesn't take it in the house with her.
Probably in a nearby alley.
I'm
So, I mean, there's
I'm gonna
one
start
that's
wandering around that way.
a couple go wander into the alleys. Yeah.
Yeah, take a look for the cart.
There's one, and on the side it's painted. It's pretty easy to find because it's labeled on the side, Webster Lard.
Is she like she's in the kitchen, so she's not around where the cart is now, correct? That's like
No, she's in the house. She's in her flat in the kitchen.
Can I take
So
a
yeah, she's nowhere nearby.
Can I take a look at the cart, see if there's anything unusual going on, any signs left here?
Yeah.
All right. Now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna use for that.
No, suddenly the carton is invisible and you may not look at it. Wahaha.
Well, just making sure there's nothing
No,
like
I'm sorry.
in the way or anything special.
No,
I
no, no. I
consider,
mean,
so
no. I mean, the worst thing that you could have is, since you're not from this area, somebody might go and tell her that someone's messing with her cart.
Well, then she might come out to try and stop her, and we can talk to her some more.
Yeah, but it depends on like how long you're there and if you're touching stuff versus just kind of like looking at it.
All right, well, first off, I'm going to do an astral sight. I'm hoping if she was involved with a murder, there'd be some sort of emotional imprint left, like if she was carrying a dead body around with that thing. Let's see here. And yeah, that's going to require karma. Or no, I'm a human. $15.
I'm glad you threw karma at it. So, it's a little strange. You're not sure you've ever seen this before. But it looks like it's kind of normal, but it's almost... There's something odd about the normal. Like, it's not quite right. It's almost as if someone, like... You know how sometimes you hang a painting over a hole? Or people put a chair over a stain in a rug? It somewhat feels like someone cleaned up the astral, sort of. Or at least put a tablecloth over it so that you don't see the problem. And I don't know that you've ever seen anything like that before.
Okay. Well, let's try to like pop it open and just kind of take a look at it physically. Should I throw general perception or awareness?
Either one. Probably awareness because it'll be better for you.
Yep. All right, that's gonna be. Hang on, that one landed cocked. That's a 9.
So it's set up like kind of almost like a wheelbarrow, but it has more wheels because it's got the big like poles so she can pull it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a fairly large box. It's actually fairly big because she's fairly big. So it's probably 5 foot wide and 6-7 feet tall. So she'd have to hunch to get in there, but it would still be better than an itty bitty cart. It's definitely decorated on the sides with the Webster Lard painted on both sides because that type of advertising is not new. It doesn't appear to be locked. Whether that's just simply because there's nothing in there or because everybody knows her in the neighborhood and so no one's going to steal the lard or,
Any signs
When you
of
get in there,
anything going on in the cart?
if you open it up, because like I said, it's not locked, and kind of peek in there, it's got shelves that have like little rails on them to put like the jars of lard.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you say you got for a total?
A 9.
A 9? You're not seeing anything amiss. It's definitely big enough to throw a body in, though. Matter of fact, you wouldn't have to worry so much about cutting it up even. You could just throw it in the floor.
Would you have to take the shelves out to get it to fit in there?
Because the shelves don't go that low. Not really. I mean, she'd have to, unless she was walking on the person, which I can't tell you. It's still gonna make it like harder for her to get stuff if there's a body in the way, unless she scrunched up more and literally walked over the person, or maybe pushed it all the way in the back into a more seated position.
But no signs of blood splatter or bits of cloth left behind that I'm spotting.
Nope. I'm looking for a dice to see if you find anybody who would assign anything. So I'm not. I saw you, Lexi. I'm just looking for the set of dice that are supposed to be right here. Oh, here's a set. Ah, I knew there was dice. My desk always has dice. These are new dice.
What good
They're
desk
not open.
doesn't have dice?
Well, actually, usually I have tons of them. Oh, I'm just. Those aren't open, and they're not open for me.
Also, just a matter of getting the right dice.
Well, that also does matter. But in this case, step one is simply a matter of, did she actually look into somebody there might have some idea? Ha. Okay.
Would the general sort of weirdness, offness of Kate's emotions fit with somebody using magic to manipulate her? Morgana will probably ask Nigel, Weymont.
Did I roll magic theory on that?
I would roll magic theory on that. So, nobody saw her take in sheets. However, the animals actually generally like her. But recently she's been different. And
Different how?
Waymont's rolling angry. And Waymont's doing magic theory, right?
I am. And I'm still rolling this 8. Did you get that?
No, sorry. What did you get?
30.
30? I get 3 and a 0?
Yes, a 3 and a 0.
Jesus Christ, that's a good roll. Okay. Yes, unusual. But yes, technically magic could make it so that, like, let's say the guys who are under the guys to take the box someplace, right? They don't really remember being under the guys, right?
Right.
So if you were to ask them, did you take the box over there? They may or may not say, yes, I did. But they're, but it might feel off because they don't. If they say they did, or even if they said they didn't, it wouldn't necessarily be a lie because they were magically altered in their thought process.
And if they can't
Does that make
remember
sense?
properly, they
Right.
might be being a bit evasive about it if they have gaps in their memory
Right.
and being awkward about it that they're not really aware of. They might be uncomfortable and
Right.
thus be awkward and
I mean, the right with the 30, the best you can come up with is that yes, it's possible because humans are weird, and if they don't remember things quite right, if their memory has been altered, they're going to fill in those gaps. My great uncle, when he was starting to become, he started to have some memory issues and things like that as he aged. He had some early onset dementia. He was absolutely convinced that the mailman started a fight with him and threatened him. The mailman's a perfectly nice man. He did not threaten a little old man. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that that's actually what happened. But if you ask Fred, he was absolutely convinced that's what happened. So, if someone somehow managed to alter whether it was magic or not magic, yes. Does that help?
well, that and her, the animal. Once we get River's information, the animals liked her, but that's changed a bit recently. Might mean there's something pulling her strings.
Possibly.
Hey, just give me 1 second, okay? Be right back.
But while the GM stepped away, did everybody see my comments the other day in the general chat? Talking about the possible idea for a swords demo.
Yes. I will admit, I was also interested in the whole things with the first Samsung coming across as first. So yeah, I might have ideas to that maybe popping up in some of the Samsung book. We
Yeah,
shall see.
that'll be interesting. I'm thinking we could possibly even imply that there have already been Samsung spies that have gone across.
So, do you want to read out what Phil said in the 1879 general chat?
Sorry, I missed that.
Who are you then? I am a reservist. Yes, from the Indias. Gotta have some identification. What's your name? I am panicking. Sam. Sam Sutspy. Sounds Indian enough for me. Welcome aboard.
It would totally work.
I mean, it's exactly how it would go in a session.
Okay, be good. Sorry about that. Sorry, what was the last thing said after I had asked if that helped? Sorry.
Potentially about there being some sort of magical effect on her.
Yes, it is potential. Weymont might have to try astral projection to find out more. But theoretically, yes.
I think you mean astral sight.
Sorry. Astral sight.
I mean, he could do
Yes.
astral projection to like show up at her house, but that might cause more problems.
You could, but you don't know what's going to happen if you do that. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying you don't know what will happen.
Yet.
I mean, I could do astral sight. I don't see any problem with that. Does anybody?
Well, doing astral sight on the lady, on Mrs.
Yeah.
Webster or Miss Webster, may be required, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
you'll
If you
have
can
to like kind of get her out of the building for that.
we could start messing with her car. That'd get her out of the building.
Well, come have a look at the cart in the alley. I just wanted to start having a look around to see if maybe there was a good spot where a body could be pulled in or stashed or something like that.
Sure. Go look at that cart.
I mean, you could have gone wild. All right, so someone's rolling on looking at the cart.
Yeah, Chris is working on the roll, so it might be a minute.
Sure. Astral sight, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully this will do what it did before, but I mean I can't be certain of that. Well, no, that is much worse. That is a 10.
That seems fine.
Seems fine.
Yeah.
Do you notice anything in the area?
I'll have a look around.
Or maybe even on the house? See if maybe something's coming off of her?
Around there too. Anything?
Sorry, what was the second roll?
When do you want me to roll astral sight again?
If you just have a 10, everything seems fine.
Everything seems fine.
Since you're looking at the building now instead, if you would like a second roll.
That's better. Much better. $20.
So your head hurts.
Ow.
And that's weird because usually when you do astral sight, it's not like I looked at the thing and it caused a migraine. But when you try to look at like where her flat is, type of thing, it kind of feels like you got instant migraine.
Oh, very strange. Did I notice it? Can I fight through it, or is it just not? Is this just not happening?
No, you can do that magic theory again.
Magic theory. Right. Um, 14.
14.
14.
You've
I can
heard
put
of
karma on it if
these
you want me.
things. Okay.
Um.
That's what karma's for.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Humon karma is D8. Yes.
Yes, it is.
Well, I'm an elf. So what's elf karma?
D6.
D6.
6.
D6.
6.
19. 19.
That is a very strong ward.
Very strong ward on that.
That is a very strong ward.
Ow.
How do wards happen?
I would
How do
assume
wards?
I would assume a mage cast it.
Yes. A mage put the ward up. That is... They're not naturally occurring.
Hmm.
Is there
This
like
doesn't quite seem the sort of neighbourhood where you'd expect buildings to be warded, does it?
Well, no.
No,
Yes.
No.
there are fire wards, but you'd usually see that on nicer neighborhoods that can afford a mage.
So obviously someone has put this in place to make sure that people can't look into this too deeply, I guess.
So
I mean, I guess
somebody,
a gang could live here, and maybe, but I would imagine a wealthy gang would go someplace else. But
unless they had a mumper.
Quick question. Thinking back to the house where things occurred, is the window that we think the body was moved in and out of big enough for well, specifically Miss Webster to move in and out of?
yes, her horns, which they're fairly good sized horns, but they're mostly back and not out.
Yeah. But the window
So
could
yeah,
open.
yeah. I mean, a 3 foot window she can get through. I don't imagine it's the most ladylike looking of a get through a window, but she can do it.
I will say, frankly, Morgana can't think of an entirely ladylike way to climb in and out of a window, but you know. She's had a sheltered childhood.
And it's not like Miss Cass. Well, our current suspect cares about ladylike.
I mean, she might in the right circumstances.
Well, we've got
I mean,
signs that there's definitely some sort of magical interference going on, possibly from your description, magical compulsion.
Does Nigel tell Weymont about what he saw looking at the cart, or is he still
I'm,
kind of on the down low with that?
I'm still trying to keep that on the down low.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's why I was trying to get him to spot it without me having to say it. And it's like, damn it, of course the dice don't cooperate. Do you know of any methods by which the compulsion could be disrupted, if that is the case? Assuming we can get contact with her again, or get her outside.
Well. Bye. You want another roll? Hello?
He rolled really high on that. Off the top of your head, no, but theoretically, if you could find. So there's a couple of things that come into question. Is it something that's ongoing? If it's something that's ongoing, could you like dispel? Right?
Right.
So that's a possibility, but it would have to be an ongoing thing. If it's something that happened and it's just her brain has filled it in a certain way, you could try maybe some sort of healing, but that's shaky. Like hypnosis might work shaky levels, maybe.
Hey,
I
well,
would say you haven't had a lot of time researching this in specific. But going from the headache you got from trying to look at the building, if something powerful did this, you're not sure that you could, even if you could think of the way to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what you're saying is it might be a little bit beyond me.
If it's something that can even be done. Does that, because like if it's not an ongoing magical effect, I'm not sure how you could undo what's there. Because if it's so taking the case of the guys on the guys, once the guys is off, you can't dispel it. It's done, right? It's just a matter of that's how their brain has interpreted what information it has. And for that, healing, I could see where you could make a claim for healing to work, but I'm not totally sure that it would. If that you get what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
I would be open to creative ideas if your character comes up with one. Like, just remind me you rolled really well, so you've put thought into this. So if you come up with a creative idea, if it's the case of whatever it was is over with, I am open to suggestions.
Creative idea for
Matter of
breaking a guess. You mean?
Well, if it's going on, you dispel it.
If you
If
could
you
get
can.
another look at her, could we tell if she's got something ongoing with an astral sight?
Possibly,
She was out of the house?
probably, if you could get her probably out of the house. I have a feeling she doesn't want to come out of the house.
I have ideas. Are there
Okay.
spaces in the alleyway here where we could like hide behind like barrels or boxes or whatever, but still be able to see your back door?
Probably. I mean, it's a Victorian alley. They were not necessarily clean or tidy.
If we could
So there's
make
possibly
ourselves
other carts or things like that.
if we could make ourselves scarce, River, do you think you could possibly convince like an alley cat or something to make a bunch of noise out here and try to get her out just to come shoo it away?
And that's possible.
Say yes.
Okay. We're gonna take 5-10 minute pause for bathroom, food, drinks. You guys decide how you're gonna make this happen. I will be back.
Okay.
5 minutes, good. 10, or do we need 10?
And I should be fine.
5
Okay,
should be
5's
good.
Okay, 5 minutes.
Right.
And we'll get something to drink, but I do have a headset so I can wander. But yeah, I think if we just hide behind boxes and scare up some noise, she'll come poking out, and then you can scope her.
Okay.
brisket's smelling good. So my bigger question is, who the heck would be going through the effort of doing this magically?
Been powerful enough to do this magically as well.
Well, exactly.
Who did she piss off? Besides everyone.
Is this simply a case of this is what happens when you annoy a mage?
Well, I'm wondering if this leads to something bigger. And she was just a convenient target.
Possible.
Trial run.
Because if you need a victim to sacrifice or something, then
Why not the horrible old lady?
target the old woman that nobody likes and no one's going to question.
The other side is, you know, is the son into debt with someone?
What?
If I heard that correct, you were asking if her son was in debt to someone?
Yep.
I don't know that they'd target his mother for that, then.
Better just, like, I don't know, target the sun in that case.
If you target the son, how do you get your money back?
I feel like you're trying to be patient with me, and I don't appreciate it.
So, in this case, if the son borrowed money on grounds of he's going to get the inheritance because he's the only living relative,
Right?
they go and they target the mom, show the son that, hey, pay us or this is going to happen to you too, because well, can't prove that the son was involved in it. And with a mage this powerful, you're not gonna track it down.
Seems unnecessarily convoluted. I mean, if your only goal is money and you've got access to this powerful of magic, there's no reason to target like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do we have a plan?
I'm afraid not.
Oh yeah, we were just. We'll make ourselves scarce. We have a cat make a bunch of noise to get her to come outside, and we scope her.
That's the
All
plan.
right, give it a go.
I don't know if there's anything we need to roll for that, or if River just needs to talk to the cat to convince it to cooperate, because we're just kind of hiding.
River needs to talk to the cat, convince it to cooperate. Whoever's doing the astral sight needs to kind of like roll and be ready to try to get a look. That type of stuff.
I will do the roll.
And those of you hiding might want to do some sort of like stealthy roll for hiding.
Put some karma into it.
I was figuring I'd hide like round another corner so as not to be actually watching the place. I might even go and have a see if I can talk to any of the other locals, see if there's been anyone's noticed any changes in Miss Webster's behaviour recently.
That's a good idea.
Streetwise, and just, because hiding near her house, I'm rubbish at hiding, so I might as well make myself useful elsewhere.
You aren't going to believe this, but I made my astral sight roll. Do you want to know what I got?
What'd you get?
30.
The GM is going to start throwing shoes at you. I don't think
not
they'll
the
go that
shoe.
far, but I will throw the shoe. No, you may not have my ginger snap, you little fiend. All right. So she has a 16 on speak with animal. And what do you ask the cat to do?
Make a lot of noise and like, is there? Oh, there would be an open window, right?
Or like jump around under a cart or something like that.
There'd be an open window, right? Going
Nope.
in.
No. She has a vent. So there's smoke coming out.
You could put the cat in the vent.
Oh,
I guess
no.
you could put the cat in the vent.
Well, the
cat does not want to go in the vent.
Yeah, the cat's gonna get burned if it goes in the vent. Just have the cat jump around.
The cat does not want to go in the vent, and I would say with a 16, it might get close to it, but as soon as it feels how hot that is, it ain't gonna do it. It will not willingly do that.
Yeah, I was thinking open windows because of the rendering smell.
Just have it jump around in her cart or something, or like we can put a can in there and it can play around with it.
Yeah, jump around yelling and
Carrying on. Yelling might work because cats can be really loud. Like they look small, but they can get really loud. I mean, Batsy is a dog, but she weighs 5 pounds and she can be very loud, you jerk. Yeah, you. She wants my ginger snaps. She's being an ass. Well, okay, she's technically being a good dog. She's just sitting there staring at me like, you will give me the ginger snap, right? These are the last of the ginger snaps I made, you fiend. Fine. Cookie. All right. So 7 on hiding, 15 on astral sight. Okay. Let's see if she hears and or cares about the yelling loud cat. All right. Well, I'm glad that you have a 30 because she does open the door, but it's not for long. She basically just yells at the cat to shut up and then slams the door closed. However, that meant that she also didn't really notice anybody. So, the 15 on astral sight, I don't know that you would have gotten enough look at her to see something unusual. The 30, where I'm throwing shoes at, people in the UK. It's really
That is
far
a
fleeing.
long-range shoe.
That is a long-range shoe. You don't see any threads on her. Like anything attached to her. So it wouldn't be an active spell as you would know it or think of it, if that makes sense. but her pattern is off.
Off.
Yeah, and it's weird because you don't actually really completely know what you're looking at there. But it's like her pattern has been disrupted.
Someone's done a thing to her pattern, is what you're saying.
Someone has done something, you think. But yeah, her pattern is disrupted, and that's weird.
That's weird.
That is very weird. I will also say it's fairly subtle. Mister, I got a 30. I raspberry you.
I mean, that's hurtful.
See, I'm a mean GM. I raspberried you. Take that.
Okay.
I mean, at least you didn't jam him.
What?
There's only one man who would dare give me the raspberries.
Better than cranberries. Tell you that much.
All right. So something very subtle.
Hold on. Before I forget, we've got the other ones doing some streetwise looking around talking. The 8 isn't super helpful. No, I'm sorry, Augie.
No, I didn't think it would be.
The 20 is going to get you a couple of theses. Yeah, Miss Webster's been. She was actually a fairly nice woman. She was a little weirded out with the change. A lot of people were, right? But otherwise, she was a pretty nice lady. But lately, she's been very antisocial, short-tempered, which is unusual, and that's been the last month or so, maybe month and a half. The other thing is that, in all truth, the last 6 months or so, the neighborhood, it's just something in the water. You know, somebody else was crabbier than usual for no real reason, and then it was somebody else, and then somebody else. So, like, like pregnancy's just in the air. Somehow being cranky has just been kind of up in the air. People are blaming it on politics and stuff.
Wait.
It's got to be something like that.
So 6 months ago, Mrs. Webster went and visited Mrs. Thomas.
5-6 months ago.
And around that time,
on that one,
the neighborhood became nastier.
That's when this person recalls the neighborhood getting worse. But, that could be coincidental.
Oh. Right. No such thing as coincidences.
Sorry about that, Lexi. What were you saying?
So I was just summarizing what we learned from there's a subtle change to her pattern, but there's nothing tied to her.
Right.
This is a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
Sorry. Remy was out visiting, so I had people going in and out, so the doorbells keep chiming. Because I have to know that someone walked in or out of the building. It's important to them. I'm in the middle of nowhere. The people who are walking in and out of the building belong here. But They still need me to know that the door was opened.
Yeah, but you trained him to do that before you lived in the middle of
I
nowhere.
know, I did. Before I lived in the middle of nowhere, because it made more sense, right? Out here, it's kind of like, really, guys? Really? It's fetch. She got done being a horse. Like, shut up. All right. Yeah. So there's a ward on the building, which seems weird because this isn't the type of neighborhood to have wards of that type of level. Brad.
Yep.
Brad found out some stuff, but he hasn't quite mentioned it. And something is very subtly wrong with Miss Webster's pattern. And yes, Morgana and August found out that something's just been in the water here. And people have just been shorter tempered and less social and less nice than usual. But usually the people get over it. Usually they're kind of sad afterwards, or they just get over it. But it seems to just be kind of going around. It's weird. But it's obviously politics ticking people off or something like that. Damn, House of Lords not doing their shit.
Okay.
Plus our shows, plus our mem show.
Other than the
Well, now,
war,
there's something in the
What?
water. At least it's not cholera.
It could be cholera. That might be why they're unhappy. Cholera does it.
It just makes you grumpy. I think it's a bit more extensive in its symptom pattern, but I'm not a medic. I'll admit.
other than the ward, does it look like there's anything off about the building physically?
Sorry, what was that?
Other than looking aside from the magical wards on it, does it look like there's anything off about the building physically?
No.
Like they put any other sort of patterns or magical doodads or that sort of junk on there? Maybe somebody put new gargoyles that match the style.
No, this building is not cool enough to have gargoyles. I mean, I want gargoyles to be out in front of my driveway, but this is not a fancy building. There are no gargoyles.
Wanna know the interesting thing? If it doesn't have water in it, it's not a gargoyle. It's a grotesque.
Sorry, that cut out for me. If they don't have water,
Yeah, if the gargoyle doesn't have a water feature, then it's not a gargoyle. It's a grotesque.
Gargoyles were water spouts.
that is good to know. So I will not be getting gargoyles because I don't need water spouts at the driveway. I'm gonna have the other type.
Grotesques.
Yeah. I apologize and am corrected.
So, does anyone have a folklore skill about creatures that could do this?
It could do what? Put the wards on there? Because I don't think this is a creature.
No, I think it's a mage. I think it's a mage doing that mage thing.
Could a spirit do something like this?
Maybe, but why?
For poops and giggles.
Are you saying that a spirit, the only detect of a spirit also?
Given her previous form, that seems possible.
Don't spirits usually haunt people directly?
That depends on who you ask. Because sometimes objects are haunted. I'm not saying that that's the case here. I'm just saying that that is theoretically. I mean, if you look at Annabelle the doll or Lorna,
Well, right,
which is sometimes tied to the
but
necklace.
that's not what I'm
you know,
talking about. I'm talking about a spirit's not going to go and possess somebody that lives in an entire other neighborhood that used to work for you 3 years ago to come and kill you. The spirit would come and do something more direct.
Probably. But I'm just saying that, I mean, there are weirder things under the sun, Horatio. However, I'm not saying that that's the case here at all.
Granted, just looking at likelihood.
Would it be easier to make someone, theoretically, if you were using mind control to make someone do something, is it easier to make someone do something that they would consider doing?
Well, one would assume yes.
So if there was somebody who already hated a woman, it would be easier to use magic to make them kill them, even if they wouldn't go that far normally.
Yeah, but I think, as evidence has shown, there's a lot of people that hate this woman a hell of a lot more close to her.
Yep.
Yeah, but hate her enough because she fired you and she wouldn't hire you again? Or wouldn't buy your wares? I mean, that's like double kick ya. But it does seem a lot for a spirit to go all the way over to fuck with, and how would the spirit know? And
Can a mage not control the spirit? Do that?
that's a good question.
Right, but then there's still a mage behind it.
Yeah. Then it's,
Oh, yeah, no, that's true.
it's still a mage. You see.
Yeah,
You can see
no,
it that
this.
Obviously, mages are evil. I'm just gonna say. Right? All mages are evil? I'm pretty sure of it.
Wait for Weymont
Sure,
to
why
take
not?
offense to it.
Well, I'm a voice from the ether. I don't count.
Wrought iron or a little white picket one?
So what are we doing?
Well, either way, there's something powerful enough, something or someone powerful enough with magic to have gone to these lengths and has the ability to do so. Why target this woman?
She's a horrible old bag. Case closed. Job's a good.
By this woman, I guess the question is did you mean the horrible old bag, or this woman you mean Webster?
I mean the horrible old woman.
Because she's a horrible old woman. I agree. She's a nasty, spirited old bat.
Yeah, but there's plenty of nasty, spirited old bats around. Why this one in particular?
I guess that's true.
I guess because she may have a large inheritance, that if she's out of the picture and everybody doesn't like her, then, well, it's not really that suspicious, is it? If nobody likes her and all of a sudden she dies, then you can deal with the inheritance.
It all goes to the sun, so at least theoretically.
In theory.
I'm wondering if someone involved goes to some sort of... Well, they have the different salons and you know, gatherings, and basically cults.
Do you think there's a cult?
It's a possibility. Perhaps the old woman was involved with one. Secret societies abound in this age.
Yeah.
Perhaps the old woman was involved with one and upset them. Perhaps the son was involved with one and he's hiding it under a guise. Perhaps someone else entirely was involved and has constructed this convoluted plan.
It does sound like the kind of plan a cult would come up with. Just saying.
I'm sorry, but my mind keeps going back to, have there been any thefts of garden gnomes reported in the area?
No.
You know, that's always what starts it. You fucked with someone's gnome.
Hey, don't mess with the gnomies.
So where do you guys go now?
Power company to see about the lights.
Yeah, I think that's our next lead. Unless anybody else has any other ideas around here.
I don't think so.
I got nothing, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Possibly the coal company, because they're the other likely witnesses.
Yeah.
Witnesses, but I don't know that they were directly involved.
So off to the power company?
Yeah, it
Sounds like
seems
a good
reasonable.
At least is that what I'm hearing?
Failing any other ideas.
Okay. Not hearing anything else. You guys go to the power company. Which doesn't get a whole lot of, people visiting.
Yeah, they generally wouldn't.
Right, because you don't pay your bill here, so they don't get a lot of company. Whoever's up at the front will, not just we have company, but we have lots of company. It's unusual. And they'll ask if they can help you somehow.
Well, unless someone else wants to, I'll probably take point on this one since I do the engineering stuff.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I will hand over the calling card for the company. We're performing an investigation into a crime, and I'll give the address for the location.
Okay.
I understand there were some disruptions with the lighting grid. I was hoping to speak to somebody about your records and get some additional information on what occurred there.
What she thinks on it in a moment goes, George, you probably need to speak to George. Come on. And she'll walk you back, and it's an office building, but it's very drab, boring. Have you ever seen the schools that were built in like the 70s where they decided that windows were bad because it's distracting to students? So like none of the offices have windows. Oh, it may not have happened in the UK. But if you go on, especially college campuses, there are buildings sometimes that were built in the 70s that have like almost no windows anywhere. Very few windows, none in like the offices, none in like any of the lecture halls. Because the idea was apparently that windows allowed people to be distracted. So they are very ugly buildings.
Yeah, but
very ugly buildings.
But around here, it's probably that way for security, because disrupting the power grid can cause a lot of problems.
Yes, but it does have that very boring gray feel to the whole place, kind of. But she takes you down, and there's a guy and lots of like filing cabinets like lining everywhere. And this is obviously not like this is our archive because it's not big enough to be the archive. This is just this dude's office.
Mm-hmm.
And he has papers everywhere. It's not quite the same feel as that the one median that kind of wasn't super helpful. But he just because it's all very neat. There's the desk is clear except for a pile of things. There are chairs that you can. There's only 2 chairs, but like both walls in the wall, all three walls, like the 2 on the sides, the one behind him, are just rows of either bookshelves or filing cabinets. And the lady who showed you back is like, George, they've got some questions about the power grid. And George's like, I know a lot about the power grid. And she kind of like, I know. George, you want me to bring you some coffee? Well, yes. Please. And then she sits there, and it's like she pauses for a moment, waiting, trying to see if he says the next half of it. And she kind of sighs and she goes, would any of the rest of you like some coffee? Or
Give any
tea?
tea. Tea,
I
please.
I can get some tea. And she kind of walks off, shaking her head. George just kind of stares at you guys for a minute. It's a little uncomfortable on most of your ends, especially those of you who have any etiquette.
And I'm used to this.
Your character might actually be like, oh, I totally get this, and just goes and sits down.
No, he's an engineer. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
We're fine.
There's some social graces that seem to be not connected here, is what you catch up on pretty quick. How can I help you?
So I wanted to talk to you about the disruption in, and I'll give him the neighborhood and the date.
Yes, I have that. And he stops, and he thinks for a second, and then he goes to, and you notice that all the filing cabinets, they're not labeled. It's not like L through Z, 1 through 87. Nope, none of them have any labels on it. But he seems to go and pulls out a folder and comes right back, sits down. It's very weird. Very weird indeed.
He will know where everything in this office is.
He absolutely does. Like he knows exactly where that file was. He pulls out. He's like, it's very weird.
Okay,
I'm very unhappy about it.
How so?
Well, because it simply can't happen, but it did. It's annoying. And he goes back and he starts pulling out a handful of other folders, probably 7, 8, maybe 9. And he puts them down and goes, and these all did it too. But it shouldn't happen. That's not how that works.
But it did happen.
Oh, there's additionals.
Exactly.
Were these in other neighborhoods?
Exactly. Oh, yes. Rather different neighborhoods. Which means that it's not isolated to that one spot. But something that should not happen, but did, and continues to be happening, and is not isolated to one location.
And
it's vexing.
So they're continuing in other dates as well.
Oh no, they're all completely separate dates, completely separate parts of the grid. But it shouldn't happen.
I'm going to start making
I'm going to start
making a list of dates and times.
It's in the middle of a line. You can't have the middle of a line do that. It's either the whole line or nothing. Don't you get that?
Yes.
And he looks at all of you.
So disrupting the middle of the circuit.
Yeah, it's the middle of a circuit, and you can't have the middle of the circuit pop in and out if the whole circuit's not popping in and out. But yes, they're completely... He doesn't seem to mind that you opened the files. He didn't faze him in the least. But yeah, they're all completely separate times, dates, neighborhoods.
So you're saying that this isn't how this works?
No.
So how
Not
did
at
it
all.
happen then?
I don't know. That's
What-
why it's vexing.
When did
Because
it
it can't
start
happen.
occurring?
That's literally how. That's literally not how that starts. And he gets to the bottom folder and he flips it open, and basically about 8 months ago.
Go.
There's darn near one for every month.
Does the company have an ongoing RCA, or is this more of a...
You're gonna have to, for stupid Andy, tell me what RCA means.
I was going to when I finished the thought.
Sorry.
So, I was saying,
Sorry.
does the company have an ongoing RCA, or is this more of a personal connection that you've made? And RCA means root cause analysis.
Well, I do the analysis, and this is wrong.
Have you brought it to the attention of anyone else? I'm more curious if, out of
They
character,
don't care. Hey, he goes, they don't care. You see, because it happened, but then it solved itself and didn't happen again in that location. And several of the neighborhoods, they just don't care anyhow, which is also vexing. But mostly because it happened for a very short period of time, and then it seems to not happen again in that location. They don't care. They said if it was still happening, then they would care. But they should care because that can't happen.
Correct, yeah. So I take it the people above you are not engineers.
No.
So
They're vexing too.
just so I understand, it's like setting a snare trap and it not going.
His eyes. He completely looks at you like, what?
All right, it's like
I don't think he's ever used a snare trap. Let's just put it that way. It's.
I don't think this man has
you,
been out.
you take a rope and you hold it tight, and then
Yeah, I understand the concept of one, but what does that have to do with electricity?
I'm just trying to understand it in terms that I get.
Are you an engineer?
No.
It's like a
Then you probably
dam.
won't get it.
It's like a dam in the river, but the river
Get it.
continues flowing on the other side about, a mile down, as if the dam's not there. And then the dam suddenly disappears.
Just so you know, he does not realize that he was rude. Just so you know, he doesn't. He's just apparently dealt with enough non-engineers that he goes, "Oh, you're not an engineer, you won't understand."
Yeah, no, he just speaks my language. I'm good.
Like I said, he actually is not purposefully trying to be rude. Like, not asking if you want a seat, not asking if you want drinks. He's not actually... Like, there's nothing in the demeanor that seems angry or like he means to be rude. It's just, this is who he is.
Yep. This is how he do.
But yeah, no, he's very frustrated that none of them seem to understand that this is an issue. As far as he's concerned, this is a major issue. Because literally that can't happen, but it has happened several times now.
Is there anyone on the engineering side that should care about this but doesn't?
Yeah. That, if it happened for a longer period of time and people in like the nice neighborhoods and people got pissy, they might care. But since every one of these incidents seems to 2 hours tops, usually maybe 3, and most of the disruptions have been at night or early morning. Somewhere in that 10 to 4 a.m.-esque area where most people are in bed and therefore aren't as noticing or bothered by it. They're writing it off as some sort of little just work, right? And they're not understanding when he says, but that can't happen.
Have you noticed
Oh,
anyone else at
the
the
lady
company
did
that's
come
been
in and give
behaving
everybody
weird?
tea and coffee. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure that she did come in and give everybody tea and coffee. What was that, Brad?
Has there been anyone else at the company on the engineering side that's been acting weird or dismissive or anything like that?
Well, on the engineering side, we're all quite concerned because the impossible keeps being possible. But no, I wouldn't say anyone's acting strange.
Okay.
Out of character, George may or may not actually notice if someone was acting strange.
Well, the question is merely, is there anybody on engineering who's dismissing who doesn't care? He'd notice that.
No. See,
So-
no. That he would notice, and no. All of the engineers seem to be very clearly in his side that this really needs to be looked into farther. It's the upper people who are not engineers that seem to think that he's making a big deal out of 2 hours and nobody really bitched. Why spend money at it? And I'm sure we've all had that type of boss at some point.
Alright, so I don't think this is occurring internally then, and this is me vocalizing my thoughts in my head. I would like to just get a catalog of all the events we can, just the dates, the neighborhoods, the start time and end time of the disturbance.
Yeah, I can get you that.
Okay.
Like in general, it seems to be about there's like 7 of them total. So it's been about once a month. Like I said, they all range from somewhere in that 10 to 4 a.m. Most of them only last a couple, 3 hours. They're very similar to the one that you are specifically came to look at. It all seems to, according to the notes, it only seems to affect like a block or a street. Not like the whole street, but like a section. And much like he said, there's a whole lot of question marks on like why, how, because it shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You guys tell him why you're looking into this? I don't remember if anybody mentioned the why, because he wouldn't have necessarily asked.
I mentioned it to the receptionist. I didn't
But not to him.
I didn't say anything to him. I just went into engineering mode.
But he wouldn't have asked.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking. Like, did somebody else say anything? Did I miss it? Nope.
Nope.
All right. Any other questions for him?
As long as we've got the data, I don't think there's anything else. Well, have there been
And
any
he's
records of anything
not
leading up to when the event occurs? Have there been any unusual signs in the grid prior to that point? Do you see any sort of build-up?
Come on. He goes and he kind of digs in the folder and he starts pointing out, and you'd probably understand what the data chart, but basically there's a spike beforehand.
How soon beforehand?
Like right before there's a spike, then the weird thing seems to happen, and then everything's peachy.
So nothing building until Okay, I think I've got enough to go on here. If we need to get any additional information, is there a number we can reach you at?
Sorry, you cut out for me. If you want additional information, what was the question?
Is there a number we can reach him at?
Oh, yes. He actually has a phone in his office.
So
Which might lead you to believe that he actually might be fairly important.
So I'll take down his number and I'll make sure I leave him with the calling card for the office.
He's a little oddly looking at the, like, why does he need that part?
In case you encounter any additional information that might help us, because we're looking into this from the street side.
I'm sorry, you're looking into the power grid from the street side. That's very unusual. I didn't think people were that interested in it.
Well, we're looking to the events from the street side, I should clarify.
What events?
And I'll explain about the murder and what's occurred.
Ah, okay. Oh. Piece of candy. And he did it again. Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so he goes, "Oh, well, that's good. I was really hoping the police would finally start looking into it. Oh wait, you're not the police. Odd." And he pulls open a drawer and he puts the card down in the thing.
That's fine. He has it if he comes up with any more info. But I think we've got what we
You're
need
not
here.
going to question. Nobody wants to question what he just said.
What did he just say? Sorry, I would.
So what he said was, "Oh, I was hoping the police would finally look into these." Oh wait, you're not the police. How odd.
Into what, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, for other murders.
There has
Well, I
been
mean,
a
all of the
murder.
murders.
There's been a murder attached to some of these power outages.
Well, yes.
Could
Well,
we get
He
what details you have
go.
on them, please?
Well, that's what I was going to next investigate.
Well, he starts listing off the names of people that were murdered in those neighborhoods when the lights went out.
Quick question, sort of, and maybe a case of checking maps a little later. Would all of these neighborhoods be plausible for being on Miss Webster's rounds?
No.
Or are they all the way across the city?
They're across the city. I mean, some of them would be wealthier neighborhoods, but some of them were. Heck, one of them was actually in Miss Webster's neighborhood, which
When was
she
that?
wouldn't be delivering to. But that one was just like 2 months ago. But the others, some of them are in wealthier neighborhoods, and others are in not the type of neighborhoods that you get deliveries to.
About 2 months ago fits with Mrs. Webb's, from what the people on the street were saying, from her suddenly going from nice to surly and antisocial. That was a month, well, a little over a month or a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, wasn't it?
So about the time, if not, she was cranky, angry shortly after. But yeah. Matter of fact, he can actually sit there if you ask him how he knows. He will go and get a stack of, he'll basically pull out a drawer and you'll notice that he has like every day's the newspaper for so many months back. And he can basically show you newspaper articles. Most of the articles don't mention anything about the lights being out, but it doesn't take much to realize that George knows exactly which neighborhoods are which neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that when George reads it, he very, very much can go that date, that time. Well, he knows that date, that time. It's on other papers of his. Now, did it ever pause in George's mind to think to contact the police and say, "Hey, have you noticed that this pattern matches?" No. George just assumes that they see the pattern, that they just don't care, that they're just not bothering to talk to him about it. George doesn't know much about the police.
Morgana will
George
write.
doesn't know much about this.
Morgana will write something down in her notebook and then show it to Weymont, which will be asking Weymont to look at his aura.
Weymont will look at his aura. Let's go. 12.
He's fine. There's nothing unusual, really.
Nothing unusual about him.
I mean,
You mean,
I
aside
don't
from
even,
the obvious.
he's definitely autistic. He is
I
definitely
don't even
autistic,
need
and
to
he is.
scope to know that there's nothing wrong with this guy. He's just an engineer.
Pretty much. He's very logic based, and he knows his stuff very, very well.
What a guy.
So, for him, seeing that he has this issue going on, that's very irksome because he honestly cannot figure out how this is happening. And when he reads the newspaper, seeing the same dates in neighborhoods show up, time, date, neighborhood, right? His mind automatically saw the connection. Because that's how his mind works. He is, however... Oh, I'm sorry about the fireworks. That is, however, not to say that he thinks in the same lines of, I should ask the police if they've noticed the connection. It's more like, he noticed it, so why doesn't everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why he was like, well, it was about time the police showed up about this. Oh, right, you're not the police. How odd is that? He just assumes that they see it too. And much like the bosses who don't care about the problem, they don't care about the link. George is often oblivious. Except for if it's in his narrow vision of the universe. So yes, in a lot of respects, he's just an engineer.
Like I said, he's in my wheelhouse.
Yep. Any other questions for George?
Nah, we're good. Leave him his train sets.
Now, if he could
Hey,
please notify
those are
us.
at home because he doesn't have space for them here. Plus, home things stay at home, work things stay at work. So there.
If he could
Don't knock
please
his train
notify
sets.
us if he sees another disruption.
Ah. Oh, that's why you gave me your card. Sure. And he writes a note and puts the card on top of the note. And then puts it back on the top of his desk instead of in the drawer.
Okay. Well, that saves me the trouble of having to research if he's already found other murders. I think we should go poking to see what other connections we can find on those.
Do we think that these power outages are part of the crime, or whether are they a side effect?
Well, given what's going on here, my suspicion is that they're probably being magically induced in order to provide cover. Obviously, who we're dealing with has access to magic, and what's being described here is a physical impossibility. Physical impossibilities means something magical's got to be involved.
Let us not discount physical impossibilities. Well, I suppose magic's involved in those, but
Okay, let me rephrase. Conventional physical impossibility.
yes.
Well, then I would say if we can go to a library, or if they've got the news clippings, or if we've got the list of the murders and everything like that, just going over the dates, look for any possible connections to each other.
Terrible feeling Miss Webster is, or what's happened to Miss Webster is a large part of this.
I think Miss Webster's just a cog in the greater wheel here.
Oh, yes, but, or possibly, for want of a better word, a murder weapon.
I wouldn't be surprised if she's not if she's only a single case and there are multiples like her being used similarly.
Oh, indeed. But given at least one of the outages is in her neighborhood, and it fits with when she became unpleasant, I presume there's no way of knowing how long a ward has been on a building.
Are you asking towards me as the GM, or are you asking them as magician? Well,
I was asking them
Wayland
as
Wayland as a magician.
Weymont, I was asking Weymont as a magician.
Waymont.
Yes,
She was
and I have
asking
to
the
ask
room, but
you-
realistically, she's asking
Yes,
Weymont on
sorry.
that question.
Sorry.
And I have to ask you because I don't know.
As Brad, I don't think that there's a way to know how long a spell has been on.
It would have to be a very, very high roll. Basically, because most wards and that sort of thing have to be renewed every so often. Most often the case is a year and a day. So the power will start to wane a little bit towards the end of when that ward was placed. You would have to get a high enough roll to be able to detect that and see if the power's about to break or that sort of thing. As far as if the ward has been renewed multiple times, you probably wouldn't be able to tell that. Think of it kind of like, you put out a dish of water, it slowly evaporates a little bit until there's nothing left. But you can't tell
If
how
you're
many
there
times.
and it's got water in it, you don't know when it was filled.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell
You
the.
have no idea how many times the dish has been filled.
You can
Like it's a
estimate.
dish.
You can estimate the last time it was filled. You can't tell how many times it's been filled before.
Times it was filled. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Because I was gonna say I didn't think that was one that you could usually, but all right, we'll go with that. That works for me.
There's not a game mechanic for it, so basically it's one where you'd have to get an insanely high roll to be able to tell.
I was gonna say he got 2 30s, but I'm trying to remember if either of the 30 was on the building. Because I think the one was on theory and the other was on astral projection on her.
Yep.
Or astral sight on her.
Yep.
Yeah, the
'Cause you
really
did
high
have some
astral
insanely
sight
high
roll
rolls.
was the really high astral sight roll was Nigel.
Yeah. It was Nigel, but it was still on her, not on.
Well,
No, because Chris had a really insanely high one. But it was on her.
Chris got the higher astral sight roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was on her, not on the building ward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I did the building, I just got hit.
You did do the building, but you didn't get the insanely high roll on that.
Wasn't
One was on
insanely
Magic
high.
Theory. There's
think on
like
the
the
building.
30. The 30
Yeah.
I thought was on a theory, and the other 30 was on her,
Yes.
Yep. And the building was like 20.
which is really, really high. But
But whether
I
it's
was
enough
going
to
to say
detect
this.
this type of subtlety to it, yeah, you're basically what you'd if I were GMing it and going off of something like that, one, you'd have to be looking at it specifically for that information. Two, you'd probably need to get at least 3 successes against the defense rating of the ward.
See, I was being nice. If you had had one in the 30s, I would have tried to give you at least some range on that, but the 30s were not on that particularly.
It's up to
However,
your
apparently
call.
you could go back and look. You
It's
can
up-
go back and relook at the building though. Like,
I don't want another headache. You do it.
all I'm saying is that technically your character could go back and look at the ward.
Right.
Because there is a difference of looking at the ward and then trying to look into the the building.
Study
I think.
the ward.
Yeah, you'd be studying the ward, not trying to look through the ward.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
So you could technically go back and try to study the ward.
So, would you guys like me to go back and try to study the ward, despite the fact that it's probably going to give me a headache?
It might. I make no promises.
It was a genuine question. Answer me.
I'm thinking. Give it a second. It's processing. I think we should first look into these other murders and try to see if we can spot any patterns or anything there.
Well, I mean, what do we know about the other murders?
Not much. Just that they happened at the same time. At
Well-
this point, that's all you guys know.
Well, we know the time frame, we got the dates, we got the locations. So let's look at the locations on a map. Do we notice any patterns there?
No, there doesn't seem to be anything pattern-like about where the locations are. They don't have any like rich. It's not all rich neighborhoods. It's not all poor. It's not like back and forth either. It seems to be fairly random.
Geographically, does it look like there's a pattern? Are they drawing a symbol?
Nope.
So it's what you're saying is it's completely random.
It seems random, yes. From looking at the location and time, it seems random.
Was there a murder? And I'm not entirely expecting the newspapers to report it, even if there was a murder in Miss Webster's neighborhood when there was the power outage.
There
Yes.
was 2 months ago. There was a murder in Miss Webster's neighborhood, and corresponds with a power outage. Yes.
What are the details we've got on the victim of that?
Until you go and look into it, not really anything.
Right. So it's more of a footnote in a paper because it's not the sort of neighbourhood where they'd report
Well,
it.
that neighborhood, yes, that one specifically. Some of the other ones, there's a bit more about. But yes, you will notice that the ones that are in the poorer neighborhoods, they didn't write a lot about it.
Because I know he's got the skill, could August use evidence analysis to find commonalities between victims?
He can try if there is a commonality between the victims.
Yeah, I'm sure we could all roll, but I suspect he's got the role that's going to be better at it than the rest of us.
Well, you say that. Depends if my dice are
Theoretically, okay?
playing. Yeah. All right. I'll put some karma into it then, shall I?
Yeah, no pressure.
Thanks.
No
I'll
whammy,
have
no
5
whammy.
karma for the day.
No whammy, no whammy. I'm probably the only one who knows that. There was it was a TV game show. Do you know which one? The little, what did they call them? I don't think they were called whammies, but maybe that's what they were called.
No,
They
it
would go
was,
around, you had to hit stop.
Yeah, it was no whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
Yep.
'Cause that's
And they had these little cartoon things that would laugh at you if you hit a
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Some
It's
sort of
it was an
game show.
American game show.
Game show
Yeah,
called
it was
Press
an
Your
American
Luck.
game show.
couple
There you go.
of
That's
them.
it. There you go. All right, sorry. 22. Karma did pay off.
That's it. I've
There
got no
is-
more karma now
That's okay. We only have 25 minutes left. So
for the day, at least.
for the day, yes. So your role is very good. There is nothing with what you have to connect these things other than the lights.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, it's not all men, it's not all women, it's not all boujum, it's not all rich people, it's not all in, wealthy neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods. It's not all people who are connected to banking somehow. Like, there's nothing other than the lights.
And not all the bodies have disappeared. Just to check.
Nope. Most of the bodies were very much there. Not in good shape, mind you. I mean, if anything, that would, that actually is a very solid point that I should have thought about. That would probably be the closest to a commonality, is that they were very violent with the information that you have. Because, I mean, you'd have to make a guess, because like I said, the ones in the poor neighborhoods, there's not much to go on without checking deeper into it. But of the ones that you have better access to, that they talk more about it, they were apparently gruesome. Now, of course, you're having to read between the lines a little bit from newspaper articles, because they're not going to write, and then there was blood splatter on the ceiling. They don't.
But they might use phrases like shocking murder or something like that more when it's going to be brutal. They don't go into detail.
Shocking, gruesome, brutal, yeah. Unprecedented in this type of neighborhood. That type of thing.
So perhaps something is... Something is causing people to act on old grudges and dislikes.
Well, but then why was the body removed from this case?
Because the murderer realized the body... Maybe they came to... As far as we can see, the murder was utterly horrifically aggressive, but the removal of the body appears to have been more thought through. Perhaps they thought they might be able to remove... They came to from the effect and they removed suspicion and decided to move the body. I hate to say this, but wouldn't somebody who takes poor cuts of meat and renders them down for lard be in a very good position to be disposing of a body if they did it carefully enough?
Quite possibly, but if they're being magically compelled, why the difference in this case is the odd one?
Because it left them warped and damaged?
Explain why she didn't want to let us in.
Have the police taken anybody into custody for the other murders?
So if you have George's newspapers that mention the murders, you don't know anything than what they knew at that exact time. So one of them, they did arrest a husband for the murder of his wife. Most of them, you don't know if they did or not, because it wasn't as instantaneous as the husband covered in her blood.
Does our company keep newspaper archives?
You can ask.
Or point us in the direction.
If not, I would think a library would.
Yeah, I would have thought libraries would.
Yeah, the libraries definitely do if your company doesn't. And there's also things like maybe think the police station will cooperate.
And the newspapers themselves would keep copies.
Yes.
Or someone
they usually
with
have archives.
enough. Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, and the sort of archives where people would be able to either pay or get access to. I'd suggest chasing down as much as we can about each of these cases. But a husband brutally murdering a wife may be because something made an argument go far further than it should. I have no idea why it's affecting the power, but I leave that to you, Nigel.
Well, my suspicion is the power disruption was magically induced. So I don't think the people who, assuming it was Miss Weber who carried out the murder, I don't think she would have been acting alone.
No, yes, yeah. I'm just wondering if it's something that's present to disrupt the power grid. I'm not saying it's plausible, but you've said yourself we're dealing into the traditionally implausible here, aren't we?
But yeah, the real question here is, for whatever purpose or method they're using with the killings, if that's causing the supernatural disruption that disrupts the power grid, or if there's someone else there providing the cover.
Yes. But if these are unconnected and seemingly random events, just somebody in the area with a grudge, why would somebody be actively switching the power off? But something could be something's presence could disrupt it, and in the resulting darkness, wake up people's baser urges. I'm waxing a little poetical, sorry.
That is a possibility if the darkness triggers the effect.
It's all tied in together, but the initial logic would be you'd make it darker to make it high to move a body, but some of these don't sound entirely like. And the state we could work out with what happened to our victim was it was a crime of passion.
If the darkness triggers the aggressive behavior.
Yes. And whatever's causing the darkness is not even got a plan. All these seem random. But it manifests in an area, the darkness happens, and somebody who is present has their baser urges.
Let's head back to Miss Weber's house. I'm wondering if we could, because she's sequestered in her home, I'm wondering if we could cause a brief cut on the power there. Just like shut off the main breaker and see if that triggers something.
She knows some sort of witch or whatever, if you will, who may have wooded her house if she's decided something bad has happened to her.
Oh, but whatever's going on, she seems to still be under the effects of it. She's still very aggressive, very...
Yes. Somehow it's left her damaged.
So I'm wondering if we cut the power, if that would trigger an aggressive response.
You'll upset your new engineer friend, you know.
Sorry, Weymont, you were speaking?
That sounds a little risky.
Risky, yes, but it would at least let us know if the darkness is what triggers the effect.
Oh, sure.
We'd all have to wait till it was after dark, but...
Well, not necessarily. She's sequestered in her home.
She doesn't even have any windows.
Exactly. So if the power's cut to her house, she would lose light
Remember,
in the house.
she's a at least 3/4 underground unit. So no, she doesn't really have windows.
Does she have electrical lighting in her house?
I didn't ask. Did you ask her?
No, but we should have been able to see that at the house, although we weren't looking for it specifically.
You weren't looking for that specifically.
Is it?
I don't know if that neighborhood would have. Would the poor neighborhoods have power to the apartment complexes?
I
The
mean,
smaller apartment complexes? I don't know.
maybe.
Let's roll it.
It would
Call
be,
it high or low, Brad.
It would
If
be
it's
a question.
high, if you get it right, then it has power. So you call it high or low.
I'm going to call low.
I rolled a 16. Does not have power.
Okay, so then if she has light,
They're candle lamps, oil
Yeah.
lamps.
No, guys, we could see if we could get someone to summon like an air spirit or something to just go through the house and blow out all the lights.
if it can
There you
make
go.
it past the ward.
Can you summon air spirits?
Not me.
It can't be that hard. Just whatever comes to you, make an agreement with them. It'll be great. Don't worry about that. It'll be
He
good.
He doesn't have summoning.
Well, you could just stand there and ask for something to show up and see what happens. You never know.
All I can say is I know
Mwah.
what sort of faces my players make at me when I make suggestions like that as a GM.
Yeah. So far today, there's been several occasions that I've appreciated for once not being physically at the table because you can't see my face and I can hit the mute button when I giggle. So there's a perk to doing it online.
I'm still just trying to figure out how you think that's going to work when he doesn't have summoning. That's like trying to call a plumber by standing outside and yelling, "Plumber!"
The only way that would
Oh,
work is if
man.
somebody was. Only way that would work is if a plumber happened to be nearby.
Exactly.
Exactly, and if something does show up, that would be bad because it meant that they was already there, which is why I said it can't possibly go wrong. I didn't say it would happen, but if it does happen, obviously it's meant to be. It's karma. Can't go wrong. Couldn't be something diabolical watching any of you.
What? No.
No? What do you mean no? I'm trying to help you.
That's just like there was one in Andrew's Earthdawn campaign where somebody, I can't remember what it was. There was some creature they found. Oh, that's right. It was they found the skeleton of a dragon that had its head severed, and somebody suggested to the Nethermancer, "Well, cast Experience Death on it." And the thing about Experience Death is that whatever happens to you in the death happens to you when you're experiencing it. So the Nethermancer
While
just
you're holding the head? That seems like a bad
he
idea.
just gestures at it and goes, "Its head's off!"
You can staple that back on, I think. A little bubblegum and duct tape, just,
It's probably
That
that
works.
Wembley with the exploding dice that's hinted at in the
No.
first Dead Earthdawn campaign guide. I raised suspicious of any statement about that. A Windling with a dagger is never going to kill a dragon again.
Okay. We're at about 10 minutes. I think you guys could keep talking through some stuff and have some ideas. I know that by the time we start again, I will get you a list of more information on the murders that you could get from newspaper articles.
Well, and you
That
said
fair?
you have a hard stop at 2 anyway, so yeah, it's probably a good time to start.
Yeah,
with
that's what I'm saying. We've got about 10 minutes left. So before the next game, I will do that. The next game is on the 17th. And it's a normal start time. That's what I have down.
Okay.
I'll probably forget
Yeah,
between here and there and have to ask, but it's normal.
Yeah, I believe
What
so.
guys, you didn't tell me.
Finished.
You finished? You didn't win?
No.
I'm sorry.
Top 4. That's all right. I
Top
came
4?
top 4.
Good job.
So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's
The one
the
after.
Princess Champion.
Oh yeah.
Oh, congrats. That's good. Why didn't you say? Congrats.
'Cause
I know that's a big
I
one.
was just about to, and Joel picked me to it.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
That's
Joel.
all right. You're really
Joel.
excited.
I am, on your behalf. It's great.
What did you get?
I was asked to be Prince's champion at the event at the weekend that we've just come back from today, for armored combat.
It's an honor.
So I get to, yeah.
Basically, a big
So
wig picked you. It's an honor.
Unless
I'm mistaken.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah, I fight good and have a warrior's spirit.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Neat.
So.
Okay. The other thing I want to bring up is not the next game, but the one after that is on the 31st.
This is
Since this
unlikely to
game
occur.
falls. Well, that's what I was. So, where I am, it'll be like 10 in the morning. So I won't care.
will be traveling, so I'm probably not going to be
You will
here.
be traveling. So you won't. I thought the UK people, that'll be late enough that you'll be starting to celebrate New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming we're canceling that one.
That's
And
fair.
then after that,
seems fair.
the next one is like the 14th of January, and we should just be fine and dandy and back on schedule. Correct?
I believe so, yes.
Sounds about right.
So I need to put up information you could get from newspaper articles, and you guys need to work on some conspiracy theories.
It's a ghost.
It's a ghost, obviously. Did you guys have a good game?
It's a gas
Yes,
leak.
thank you.
It's the evil spirit of the electric grid.
River, did you see the extra 50 AP?
Hey, listen, you laugh, but I would not be surprised if the electric grid was owned by like you know, a lightning
A
spirit.
necromancer. Lightning spirit. You know, that would make sense. If I was a lightning spirit, I would get a power plant. All right, Lexi, did you see the extra 50 AP?
How much AP do we have in total again? I need to note this down. I still haven't spent any, by the way.
Looks like 400 for this session, total 3,600.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that you guys did really good. You can correct me if you think I'm being too generous or you didn't think you did well, but I thought you all did really well. And Riffer got an extra 50 AP for the Pringles murder theory. Because I like that. I thought that was hilarious.
I can't believe you've never heard that phrase.
Oh, I've heard the phrase, but not in conjunction
Not
with a
connected
murder.
to murder.
Also,
I don't
not
think I've
in
heard it connected to
Victorian
murder.
London.
She was explaining it so I understood in terms that, like, you know, I can understand, chips. Like,
Chips
Crisps.
in London are different.
They are.
Crisps.
Crisps.
But
I can understand crisps. There you go.
Also, chips and crisps didn't get invented until the 1890s.
Exactly.
More importantly, I totally understood what she meant. I have just never connected the Pringles to a murder. Like, once you start stabbing, you just can't stop stabbing people. Like, I thought it was great, y'all.
So the thing about it is, I've explained to like when people ask like why didn't you just backhand them, and I go, it's a Pringles moment, and they're like, what do you mean by that? It's like once you start, you just can't stop.
It's very valid. It made a very clear picture.
Sorry, my bad. The potato crisp or potato chip, depending on which side of the Atlantic we're on, was 1853, so they do exist. My bad.
In France?
Oh, I thought they were first made in Greece.
I think it gets into a discussion of what you mean by a chip or crisp. Like it.
Or a fry.
A very
It's a
thin
thing.
piece of potato that has been put in
The
oil.
as the British would call it crisp, or you would call it a potato chip, is 1853. Someone called George Crumb, apparently.
So people have been frying potatoes. People have been frying potatoes for centuries.
Oh, people.
Now,
Yes.
deep frying thin pieces is a little different.
Yes.
Frying, like pan frying, versus a deep fry.
Yeah,
So
fries.
a crisp or a chip are usually deep fried versus just like a pan fry. So see, there's differences. Gooses.
But regardless, Pringles weren't founded until 1968.
The point being is she was painting a lovely picture. I love that Morgana's going full on crazy of the evil spirit that makes people do bad stuff and kill. Yeah. Damn evil spirits.
That's kind of like that's kind of what I'm thinking is either an evil spirit or some sort of folklore monster that feeds off
Sort
of that kind of stuff.
Brings
Some sort of
darkness with it.
folklore monster.
It's Rumpelstiltskin.
I like this. I like all these
It's always
theories.
Rumpelstiltskin.
It's totally Rumpelstiltskin.
Beetlejuice?
So that's Beetlejuice. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
It could totally just be
It
some
could totally
fey
be.
creature.
Hey, don't
Yes,
throw
yes.
me under the bus like that.
That could be anything. That could be anything. You could say that for anything.
Wait. So are we back to it's a garden gnome? Is that what we're at, Brad?
Well,
We're back to the gnome theory.
I don't know if you know the story of Old Man Henderson.
I would be willing
I do
to
know the
bet.
story of Old Man Henderson.
So with him with his garden
I
gnomes.
learned this story.
Yeah.
I've learned this story. I think you were actually Andrew may have sent it to me. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. I thought you guys did great. Good job.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you, you guys. You guys are my favorites. All right.
Aww.
You guys have a good weekend, and I will see you in 2 weeks at the correct time. Haha.
Have fun.
I'll forget by then, but
Well, that's why I'll post the reminders here. So
I know. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everybody.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all right. So 17th and 14th then.
Yep.
Okay. I will get them posted here. Otherwise, I think we're good to go ahead and sign off from the stream. So thank you for everybody who watched. This will be uploaded to YouTube once I can get to it. I've started uploading the other ones, and I haven't had time to get some more of them. So there are some of them on the YouTube, but we'll get that put up there. But yeah, again, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you in the next one.